Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cynthia Lennox Show. I am your host, Cynthia Lennox. For those of you that are joining me for the first time, welcome. And for those of you that watch the show every week, a big shout out to you. You know, the Cynthia Lennox Show is a space for identity and self discovery. Here we examine the things that we have been taught, things that we have been, the narrative, the doctrines, the belief system that shapes us, and so forth. We examine everything, and then we start questioning everything because many people are living lives based on identity that they didn't choose, based on belief they didn't choose. Sometimes in your life, things just don't, they're not going the right way. You may have done everything you can. You may have, done the whole performance, but something is just off. Well, as we examine and question everything, we start looking at the things that we have accepted into our lives. Sometimes we accept things and we don't even realize, we don't know, we haven't questioned why have we accepted that? Why? You're an adult and you have the ability to choose, you have the ability to think critically. So why have we accepted this? And once we discover those things as to why and so forth, then we make decisions about the things that no longer fit. We make decisions of things that no longer fit into our lives, things that no longer suit us, things that don't belong to us, things that don't fit our identity. Because as we continue to question and examine things, and I mean everything, doctrines, belief, a lot of times belief, traditional conditioning, conventional norms, those are all things that have been imposed upon us. So this space here, the Cynthia Lennox Show, that's what we do. We are dismantling, we are examining, and we are deconstructing all the things that no longer serves us. Because once you do that, as a matter of fact, I had a conversation with my coach this week, and I was sharing with him how things are going, and I was just very happy about the progression of my own life, my own personal life. And I wanted to, make sure that things are in perspective. And the question was, well, to what do I attribute this upswing, this upscale, this elevated sense of feeling, being, and so forth? And a lot of it has to do with your mindset. But what I have discovered is the more I learn about me, the more I learn about my strength, my abilities, my skills, my expertise, my standards, my worth, and the boundaries that I set for myself and for others, the more I learn about Cynthia, not only do I become more obsessed about searching and digging and examining and so forth, but what I have learned is that the more clarity I get about who I am. And when you have clarity in your life, you begin to navigate totally different. You begin to walk differently. You begin to think differently. You begin to question everything, examine everything, and you don't take anything for granted. I like to know that things that come from me originate from me. Now, I may hear something externally from the outside, but I'm going to process it. I'm going to examine it, and I'm going to question it. And then I determine if it's something that I want to accept as mine, my personality, into my identity, into habits or patterns that I have. Excuse me. And with that, then I behave differently. I function from the truth that I know about me. And that's exactly what you will learn as you continue to watch this show. It's not to inspire you, it's to bring clarity. And once you have clarity, you will know your truth. That is the truth that's going to make you free. That is the truth that's going to give you the freedom and the ability to think critically. And this way, you will know the direction that you're going. You will have a keen sense of intuition. Those are my experiences. And it's like I was sharing with my coach. I am not here to tell you what to believe or to tell you what to do or how to do it. I am here to bring awareness so that you know that you are well able. You are well able to govern yourself, to discover your authentic self, your identity, so that you are not functioning by an identity that was handed to you, that shaped you, that's been reinforced by the expectations. And then, you live, most people, like 99% of the people, live on autopilot. And that's not where fulfillment lies. You want a life that's a life of abundance, a life of joy, peace, and fulfillment. Everybody wants that. And in order to achieve that, you must have clarity as to who you are. That's the first thing you must know, who you are, because we have been conditioned in such a way that many times we do things by default, on autopilot. We just do things and say things. I was talking, someone was sharing the other day, and they were talking about ageism, about aging and so forth. And they said something that I found quite interesting. They said that your body is not governed by a calendar or by a clock. Your body is governed by, it's biology, but it's governed and it's guided by your lifestyle. What they were saying, actually, and not everyone get it, because they were saying that your life, your health, your body functions by what you feed it. Your body, by the lifestyle, enough sleep, stress reduction, good diet, and exercise, and sunshine, and all of that. Those are the things that you allow your body to be exposed to. And with that, it will determine, of course, there's some DNA and genetics that are involved, but what she was saying is that those things that we can submit ourselves to can determine how we age. And with that, I was thinking, how as people age, you go, you hear friends, or you go to the doctor, and if there's something that happens, you may come up with hypertension or diabetes or whatever, arthritis, and they all say things like it's age-related diseases. And again, what she was saying is that there is no such thing as age-related disease. Of course, if you don't do the things that I mentioned earlier, stress reduction, proper sleep, diet, nutrition, sun, and all that, then of course your body is going to decline. Your body is going to decline in energy, in strength, and things of that nature if you don't allow yourself to build those muscles that will keep you strong for a long time. And I really subscribe to that. That's why sometimes people would say to, to some people, it says, oh my gosh, you don't look your age. And what they're saying is that whatever it is, if the person is, I don't know, 55, 60, and they may look 45, and they may say, oh my gosh, you look so much younger. Well, it's not because of any kind of calendar, chronological timeline. It's because of what they have done to take care of themselves, so that when they reach whatever number, that age they are, they may not look that way, because there's a certain stereotype. There's a certain stereotype that we've been conditioned to believe. And, as we grow older, of course, there are changes that happen. We may slow down a little bit and things of that nature, but the expectations that we have, we've been so conditioned that as you get older, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I know people that that start making moves to expect certain things. People take out insurance for what do you call it? Home care, nursing assistant, and all of that, with the expectations that with time and as they get older, they will need that. Well, you know what? That is a mindset. And if that's what you think, if that's what you believe, then of course, then you better take out insurance for that. See, in my mind, when I think of myself as going season by season, that I will continue strong. I even practice a lot of the stuff now. Like I practice putting on my pants without assistance, without holding on to an object, to the vanity or something. I put on my pants, standing on one leg, one foot, as I put it on. That's something that I am so conscious. I try to get up without pushing myself, using the muscles of my legs to get myself up. Those are things that I have learned. I engage in Tai Chi exercise, and that has to do with balance and strength and things of that. Those are the things, and that's the mindset that I have for myself as I age, as I get older. And that's just what I do, because I don't buy in to the whole concept of physical decline as you get older. When people make reference, they talk about a wheelchair, and then they talk about a walking cane and thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are aids that are helpful and useful when we need it. But if that is your expectations, and I'm telling you, my friend, that is what we have been conditioned to believe. But you can change your mindset. You can change your mindset and become your own advocate. So when you go to the doctor, be informed and don't take it for granted. Again, remember, this is a space for identity and self-discovery. And one of the things that I discovered when I go to the doctor, I remember years ago, I went to the doctor, and I get a physical every year. But she said something about my cholesterol, and she said it was a little elevated. Well, I didn't even think about that, because that was the first time I'd heard that about myself. So I went and I did a lot of research and so forth. And, she prescribed a statin, and, one of those simvastatin, I think it was. And the prescription was filled, and I took it, whatever. I went back, and it was regulated. And she said, I said, oh, great. That's good. And she said, I asked her, okay, so I can get off that medication. As a matter of fact, it was like 3 months later, at my request, with the medication. So it was at a regulated number. And when I went back, I asked her, I said, so I can be off the medication? She said, no. She said, it's probably regulated because you're taking the statin. And I said, well, how long will I have to take it? And she said, well, you have to take it for the rest of your life. Well, that to me just was crazy. That just didn't sound right because in my mind, it's already set up. In my mind, my mindset functions this way. The body is designed to heal itself. And I continued to read. Well, when I left her office, I knew that I wasn't going to continue taking it. Oh, that was, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago. And I haven't taken one. I have not taken it again. Um, and when I went back, it was still regulated. And one time it was a little, the numbers changed a little bit, but you know she didn't ask me if I still took it or whatever. And anyway, we didn't have that discussion. It was okay, I guess. And I have not taken it then. Not only am I an advocate for myself, but the thing is the conditioning. And she said, this is age related disease, high cholesterol. Don't eat, a lot of dairy and eggs and all that. And I am not really guided by that. I have a boiled egg like almost every day. I don't like it, but that's just kind of my source of protein because I don't eat a lot of meat and. Anyway, the point is we can be conditioned over and over. And as we are conditioned with these beliefs and these narrative that's been uh, told us, it's reinforced by the expectations. You start expecting this to happen. You start expecting to be this way or that way or that way. And then it becomes truth. It becomes the truth that you follow. Reinforcement of any idea or concept or belief system, as you continue to repeat and repeat over and over and over and over, then it becomes your truth. That's why a lot of people, now that we that we have this space for identity and self-discovery, where we are examining and questioning everything, people start asking themselves questions about themselves. Some of you are sharing that, yeah, you didn't even think that these habits or these patterns were from a belief system that you did not choose, and your entire life is based on a belief system you did not choose. Imagine that. I know because I went through that myself. And because of the freedom where I have come to be, the freedom, the joy, and the tangible evidence of me walking in that space of a creator, governing and creating my own identity. Because I know what it's done to me is the reason I'm here, to bring awareness to you. I'm not telling you to change anything. I'm not anti-social structure, anti-religion. I'm not anti anything. I'm just saying the things that we have been taught, the narrative, the belief, the identities that we have been given. If it's not yours, your life is going to be off. There is someone that I know, and I've known her for the longest time. And this person has had a desire to marry. Well, it hasn't happened. But in her mind, she's got a narrative that doesn't even align with the desires that she has. So if there is no alignment, the universe cannot provide the thing that you most desire. Because when you desire something, well, let me just tell you how it works for me. When I decide on something, that's why I say we examine, we question, we see, we figure out what we have accepted as ours, and then we decide what no longer works. It doesn't matter if it, that's why I always say, if it doesn't work, it's not yours. It has to work. It has to work. If it doesn't work, my friend, then it's not for you. You have to be aligned. You have to have the same frequency that aligns the things that you desire. And if you are out of, if you're out of frequency, it's not going to happen. That's the way it happens. Now, you may have another way. And if you do, if it works for you, that's your proof. It has to work. Why would you subscribe to something that doesn't work? That didn't come from you? How have you examined the beliefs, the narrative, and the identities, the things you've been taught? How are you examining those things? How are you examining those things? How are you addressing those things in your life? Or do you just take it for granted that it is what it is? It is what it is. And, whatever chaos or disruption that may happen in your life, it's just, as people say, lifing. I feel like I want to sneeze. People just say, oh, life is just lifing. In the meantime, you are able to control certain things once you have an understanding why they're happening. By the belief, by the mindset, by the belief you are sustaining about certain things. You have belief about your health. You have belief about your relationships. You have beliefs about your finances. When people, some people have distorted belief where it has to do with their finances. And, they hoard, they save, they pack. They're not generous. They're not loose with it. Of course, within your comfort zone and so forth. And then they question, why are they not abounding? Why are they not prospering? Why are they not being made rich? Because that's what they think they want. But your behavior has to demonstrate your conviction, your belief. If I believe that money flows, then I am going to be generous. When I go out, I had this issue with tipping and I still do, because I like to be able to make that decision. And but now these servers, they're just like going overboard. They're going above and beyond. So they're earning, at least in our experience, they're earning a good tip. So when we go out, whatever, it's just high. But then in my mind, I have settled that I am happy that I am able to tip well. I'm happy that I'm able to tip well, generously. That's the mindset that I have about money. When it comes to me and to getting something for myself or my husband, whatever, I just go for it because I believe it's going to replenish. The thing is this, I was talking to someone the other day and they said, broke people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. And the story that he gave, he said he was with this, he was in a setting, a network setting, but this was like high level millionaires. These are people that, that were making $10 million a year minimum and so forth. And he found himself in that network. And when the workshop was over, the facilitator came and said to him, no, he said, no, he said to him, you need to join us for the next training session, marketing training session, as to how to grow into millions of dollars and so forth. And because he believed the facilitator, he thought, absolutely, I'm going to go. No question, I'm going to go. As they continued to talk, the facilitator said to him, make sure you book your flight and reservations early because they sell out fast. And he said, flight? He said, well, where's the workshop going to be? And so the guy said, in Los Angeles. So in his mind, he said, oh, in Los Angeles, I don't know that I can make that. And so the man said to him, I thought you wanted to grow your business into millions. Remember, these were $1 million level business executive, but he was not $1 million business executive. He just got to participate in that workshop. So the guy said to him, if you're saying that about accommodations and a plane fare, well, the workshop is $10,000 to attend. And in his own mind, this person thought, there's just no way I'm going to do that. Why? Because his thinking was based on limiting beliefs. He did not think of the value of going to that workshop. And it was going to be like a big workshop with speakers, one of those that really prove effective. And when he left, the guy said to him, you determine what you want to do. It's going to be in Los Angeles, and you can make accommodations here and there, and it's $10,000. Go on the website and look it up. And, during the workshop, the person had made that statement. Broke people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. I thought that was such a profound statement because, when I go out and, when you go out and you buy a fragrance for, $400 or $500, 3-ounce bottle. And the value, of course, is the value that you subscribe to whatever it is. In his case, it was something educational, something that was going to increase his finances, something that was proven effective, because there were other multimillionaires there present in that whole thing, in that whole space. But his limiting belief told him up front. He didn't even think, well, you know what? This is going to help me to boost my income and to do this. He didn't think in those terms. All he thought was $10,000 for a workshop is too much. My question would be, if that's what you thought, what made you go in the first place to a setting like that? What made you even want to go? What motivated him to go into a setting? There are different types of network settings. But this one, and I don't know how much this one costs. He didn't get into all that. But this one, was local in his city. And he chose to go. He knew that it was because he was sharing that, his whole mindset is that, if you hang around millionaires, you are about to become a millionaire, because the dialogue is different. People are thinking differently. They behave differently. They have different habits and patterns and discussions. You don't have time to talk about the little stuff. You're talking about big dollars and and a different lifestyle. And that's what he wanted. Except that he hadn't really grasped the magnitude of effort that had to be made to get there. And, to bring closure to the story, he did go. Once he got home and he started thinking about it, broke people know the price of everything, but the value of nothing. And once he ascribed a certain value to that workshop, he determined that he was going to go, and he went. And now, of course, he is, he is sharing all of this and how it happened for him and so forth, and and how it's helped him grow his business financially. You see, in his mind, he had a certain concept, a certain idea, a certain mindset about money. In your life, you have a certain thought process, the things that you've been taught, the narrative you've been given, the belief system that has shaped who you are. You are carrying it all of your life. This is the space where you have come to examine those belief systems. You have come to question everything and take note of the things that you have accepted. Imagine the things that you have accepted into your life that do not belong to you. These are things that do, when I coach, I bring people into what I call the identity architecture lab. And that is where you really dismantle, deconstruct, examine, question, and we really do a deep dive so that you can identify and get rid of the things. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's an easy process. It's just a very challenging process, because what happens is that as we repetition creates what we would call truth. But you have to come to a place where you discover the truth of you, not the truth of the narrative due to repetition. You repeat something over and over and over, you start to believe it. You start to believe it's true. That's what you call indoctrination. And that's how you brainwash someone's mind, by repetition. You repeat it over and over and over. And then you ask someone, well, what do you mean by that? They have no idea. They don't know what it means. They don't know who started it, where it comes from, who invented it, who created it, who came up with that. Does it work? Is it effective? How does it benefit me? No one asks questions at all. And your entire life, you are functioning based on that pattern. You're functioning based on that habit that you created because of what you learn as truth, which is not truth. It's a narrative, whatever it is. You've heard the story of the what is it? The turkey I don't remember how it goes, but the turkey, they ask, why do you, anyway, Thanksgiving, and I think it's the turkey, I don't remember the story, but the kid asked the mother, why do you do the turkey this certain kind of way? And she said, well, because my mom did it this kind of way. And then when they asked the grandmother, she said, well, the ovens that they had back then was too small. So we had to do something to, for it to fit, something of that nature. But the whole idea was they thought that it was done this way to get the turkey to be certain, to cook certain kind of way. Anyway, the point is you can repeat patterns over and over and over and over. And, people say, well, that's the way I've been taught. That's the way I grew up. That's what I learned. Those are the things that I learned. That's what I know. That's the only thing I know. And the thing is this, once you continue to inventory your life, because that's something that I did when I, came into this space of identity and self discovery. Once I started to inventory my life and question things, I remember I've shared before how my dad took me out, and we were at this place, this store, and I saw this dress and I held it, and beautiful dress, and in my mind, I looked at the price and I thought, wow, this is a lot of money. Now, I never had any issues of seeing my parents argue about money because that wasn't my experience. But for that dress, for me just wanting it for no reason, I looked at it and I thought, wow, that's really a lot of money. So my dad is over there and he sees me looking at the dress and looking at the tag, and he comes over and he said, what are you doing? I said, I said, wow, Dad, this is such a beautiful dress. It's, but it's so expensive. And he said, expensive? He said, well, you're not going to pay for it. I'm going to pay for it. He said, if you want it, get the dress. You deserve it. You deserve a good life. Something to that, you deserve it. Get it. And we got the dress. And those words stuck with me. You deserve it. You deserve a good life. Now, that's something positive. Now, what made my dad say that? And that's so unlike him to begin with. But he was just feeling that kind of way. Like, my daughter wants this and she's going to get it. And he said, you deserve a good life. And I took that to heart. Till this day, I believe that. It just will not go away from me. That is a narrative given to me by my dad. I believe that. I honor those words. And I have lived my life thinking that I believe to have a good life, that I believe to have the things in life that I desire. I believe that that I deserve it. And when I look at myself, and when I desire something, and even now, my desire is to discover more of me and the depth of who I am, and make decisions, and to about my life, and to self-govern and all of that. And I believe all of that. And I've seen things in my life because of that mindset that I have allowed to become truth. My truth, my friend, that's what works for me. And I am here to bring awareness to you. What are the narratives, the belief, and the things you've been taught that you have to re-examine? You have to examine, you have to question and figure out what things have you accepted. I accepted that thought, that narrative from my dad, that I deserve a good life, that I deserve it. I deserve nice things. I deserve to have a good life. I deserve the best out of life. I deserve it. He kept telling me, and I keep telling myself, even back then when I was in New York, and I remember I was just living it up, and and had some situations with my finances, my credit card. I thought credit cards was, if you have the credit, just spend it. Then I had to figure it out and take care of all that. But I was just living it up because why? I really believe I have a good life. Now that I'm, grown and adult, I think I was in college back then. I used to just do whatever I want. And now that I am, in a different season, I'm wiser. But that thought, that narrative remains in my mind. You cannot tell me that I do not deserve a good life. It's too late. Take the good. You can do selective, options. Take the good things that that have happened to you in your life. Take the good things, or you can make whatever it is, create good opportunities for yourself. Tell yourself that you can do it. You will make it. You can figure things out. Things always work out for you. That's my husband and I. That's not even a motto. We say that all the time. We know that about ourselves. Things always work out for us for the better. Always does. I mean, we could have a situation and, we just calm down and figure it out. And it always work out for us. We expect that. And that's why, again, when you're given an identity that you didn't choose, then you live to honor certain expectations, societal expectations. And by repetition, it becomes your truth. And you think it's okay. You settle into a thought process, a mindset that it's okay. Why? Because it is the common denominator. It is acceptable to the collective, to the mass. Everybody thinks the same, and that's what is accepted. And, to stand out or to stand aside or alone is quite challenging. Why? Because then you would have to justify, why are you different? That's why you must examine, you must question, and you must figure out why, or the things that you have accepted and why. And try to see if they're working for you. If they're working for you, then fine, good. But if they're not, your life could be perfect. But there's just one thing that's not working out. There's just that desire, that dream, that that thing that I want. This thing that I want. What is it? What is it? Something is off. What is it? Out of alignment. That's where you go back to find out what is out of alignment. Because if things are rightly aligned, my friend, when things are rightly aligned, look, the universe, God, whatever, creator, whatever name you ascribe, there is no option. It will unfold. And as many would say, it will manifest. The choice is yours. You can't, or you shouldn't, go through life just existing and think that's okay. Many people will, because this takes work. But you know why I find it fascinating? I find it fascinating because it's about myself. And when you come to the place where you understand your worth, where you understand your value, when you know the truth about you, you want to discover more. And when you know who you are, you would know the things that you like, the things that you don't like, the things that you accept, the things that you permit, the things that you allow, the things that you yield to. You know all of that. And as you continue to navigate through life, situations, events, opportunities, circumstances, all of that, I know for me, it, just happens in my favor. You have your truth. That's the truth that you will discover. The moment I became aware, and this happened gradually. The moment I became aware that my identity was shaped by narratives, belief system, things that I've been taught, identities, and all that, it's kind of like I took offense to it. I took offense to it as, that's just life process. But the fact that I succumb to that, and that's by ignorance, because you don't know. People don't know. You don't realize, when you say something, you don't realize that you are, parroting something that you say. There's this girl was sharing this week about marriage, and I'm telling you, she blew me away. Here I am, her concept blew me away. Now, the whole concept of marriage is it's a social construct. Marriage is a social construct. And and she said she did not say vows, the traditional vows. And I can identify with that because we didn't say vows either. I don't believe in those vows, for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health. And so that for richer, for poor. Yeah. Anyway, I don't believe that. That just gives me the creeps when I hear that. And you know what she was saying? This was her show. And she said, absolutely not. She said, because, she said, if she was like, I don't know, in her 30s, whatever, she said, if she gets married and she says those vows, and she said, I'm not going to go through, why would I be poor with someone? No, she said, absolutely not. She said, I could do that on my own. And then she said, in sickness and in health, she said, if her partner, her husband, got sick, she said, I am not about to waste my life taking care of him for the rest of his life. He said, no. She said, no, I'm not made that way. Of course, I was shocked because, she said, marriage is transactional. Marriage is transactional. It's not about love. That's where she kind of hooked me, because in my mind, the foundation of our marriage is respect, more so than love. For us, it's respect. That's my thing. And she said, no. She said, if he gets sick, I'm not about to take care of him for the rest of my life. That's just not the way I'm wired. And she said that. And she says, for better, for worse. I mean, she was just breaking it down, and people were, of course, kind of like, commenting and saying things. And so what she did not get, she meant that. And I thought, wow, first of all, I admire her being so bodacious and authentic. She said no. She said, I don't care what the collective says or what the, when you think of marriage, a lot of people think marriage is biblical. Well, it's not. You saw, I think it was Jacob, he loved Rachel. Look it up in the Bible. Jacob loved Rachel, but then he couldn't marry Rachel until he worked 7 years for Leah. He had to get Leah. So you had Leah and Rachel both having babies for him. And then you have Abraham, he has a wife, Sarah, and she could not conceive. And then Sarah gives her maid, her servant, to Abraham to have sex, to conceive. Hagar was her name, and she conceived Ishmael. So, when you talk about marriage being, that's not it's not biblical. It's a social construct. But anyway, getting back to this person said no. She said, no, I didn't do any vows because that's not something I'm going to keep. She said, she said, why would we get poor if, she could not conceive of anything happening, and there are two of them, and they reach into a state of poverty. And then when somebody said, well, in sickness and in health, she says, no, if they got sick, and by the same token, she says, if I herself got sick, she would not expect her partner to waste his life taking care of her. That's what she said. So she was like on equal footing. She did not assume that she would be fine and having to take care of her partner. But no, she said vice versa. She would not. She says, it would be unfair of me to have a 32-year-old man, that has a life ahead of him to take care of me. And she said that. That blew me away because that is like out there thinking. But, I like to hear these things because this is your mind. This is the world. This is reality. This is how people think. That is her truth. And she is living her truth. You should see the person is not only is she successful, she's single, have two marriages. She said she's successful, independent, single, doesn't plan to get married again, and self-sufficient. And she's happy with who she is. And I learned from that mindset. I thought, wow, I don't agree with it for my life. But it's interesting to know, because when I say that I do not subscribe to the traditional marriage vows, it's just because it's too gory. I mean, that's no way to start a marriage. No. We start on a high note. We started on a high note and we continue on a high note. That works for us. Again, and even looking back, I guess in my mind, deep down on the inside, I was already rebelling and pushing away that whole concept of the traditional norm and the narrative of the collective. Thoughts and ideas and beliefs that's been given to us. I examined that before we went into getting married. I already examined that in my mind and questioned that. Do I want to say that? It just didn't even fit. It didn't feel good. So we didn't do that. We did not do that. By the same token, my friend, you have the opportunity. Again, this is a space for identity and self-discovery. And the fact that you tune in today, it's because you were aligned today to come to this space so that you can, there's so many things about your life that you probably are not even aware of. So many things, so many opportunities that await you. things that are waiting for you to tap into, for you to align with. The secret desires that you have. But just like me, back then I was ignorant. I didn't know. I didn't know. I did not know. I did not know all of this. And I'm so I appreciate the I appreciate all the elements that came together to bring this awareness to me, because there was no one person that I can say, oh, influenced me to think this way. It's just circumstances and situations and things of that nature that brought me to this place. And because I know how it's done me so well, I am bringing this to you today. When you look in the mirror and you ask yourself, who am I? And don't let anybody ask you, who are you? To me, that is such an invasive question. If someone were to ask me, who are you? That's for me. And I don't mean what you do, what you like, your hobbies. I don't mean that. Who are you? Only you can determine that. Only you will know who you are. And once you discover that, it will begin to reflect in your life. Once you come to that knowledge of who you are, it will begin to reflect. You will begin to see it. You begin to behave in a certain way. You begin certain habits and patterns. You will change. I'm going to leave you with that, my friend, so that you can sup on that. Every Thursday, we meet here at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join me again next week, and we will share more. We will get into that identity architecture lab and pull out some things so that we can expand our knowledge to benefit all of us. If you need to drop me a note, you see the email address here, info@thecynthialennoxshow.com. You can drop me a note at info@thecynthialennoxshow.com, and I will get back with you and take it from there. If there's something that you want me to share, or if you have something that is, testimony or a story, I don't like to say testimony, a story that you would like me to share, you can send me that information, and I will more than be happy to share it so that it can be beneficial for all of us. In the meantime, I'm going to say ta-ta and see you next week, same time, same place. Join me, The Cynthia Lennox Show, and we will continue with our journey of self-discovery and identity. Ciao, amigo.